Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Thank you for your patience, everybody. I apologize that I was a bit late for the live stream. Thanks, everybody. Hit subscribe. Unfortunately for the Democratic Party, or fortunately, everything that I've been saying for the past 4 years is taking place. You can watch the playlist. I have about 16 videos and live streams where I told everyone that Biden would be replaced. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton will be the nominee somehow, some way, or she'll be facing Trump in November. Hit subscribe to this channel. There's about 16 videos in the playlist. Go to the playlist on this channel, and you'll see 16 or so times in the past 4 years. I've been telling you that, for example, today, $90 million is being withheld. Donors from pro-Biden super PAC are said to withhold roughly $90 million. This is Business Insider, Yahoo, New York Post, New York Times. Okay. Democrats to pro-Biden super PAC are said to withhold roughly $90 million. Okay. It could be this weekend. It could be this coming week, but I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is all by design. You're going to have a DNC primary that is in August. So the August convention held between August 19th and August 22nd. This is very important when discussing when and how Biden will be replaced. They have time, but they don't have that much time. They can't tear down and dismantle their political party every single day. Okay, he'll get the memo somehow, some way. They'll probably say that, well, maybe we really should investigate the laptop. They can turn up the heat, and they have the leverage, not Biden or Jill or anyone around his administration. By the way, all of his key advisors, pretty much everyone in his cabinet, they're all former Clinton and President Obama advisors, associates. Anyway, this is a pretty... We saw this coming. If you watch this channel, I told you what was going to take place. They were not going to go with Biden in 24. Okay, hit subscribe. Let's listen to some of the reasons. Unfortunately, there were so many gaffes yesterday. He referred to future President Donald Trump as his vice president. He confused two world leaders he should never have confused. But let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. To my members, thank you. To the Super Chat, thank you. Again, everyone, I apologize for being late. And what can I tell you? We're watching history in the making. Trump will win in resounding fashion. If it's Clinton-Trump, I do believe that, of course, Trump will win. It could be close, though. Hit subscribe.
All right. What we just witnessed was a typical, strange, bizarre, unpredictable day with the president who's in cognitive decline, who we have known has been in cognitive decline since the election in 2020. Joe was high energy. He was low energy. He was yelling. He was whispering a lot. Maybe not as tongue-tied as normal. Okay, plus for Joe. But very strange, very bizarre, as we have been chronicling on this program for 4 straight years. This is why the big lie and cover-up is so dangerous and has been so insidious for the country and, frankly, for the world. We have been showing you this for years, and all of them, all the Democrats, the state-run media mob, they all lied. They all covered it up. Biden was defiant tonight, clearly has no intention of leaving this race, and yet at one point, it appeared he did leave the door open a little bit to being replaced at the convention. I don't believe that for a second. Take a look.
If I may, your convention is coming up where your delegates are pledged to make you the official nominee. If they have second thoughts, are they free to vote their conscience?
Obviously, they're free to do whatever they want, but I get overwhelming support.
They're not free to do whatever they want. It's a political machine. Everything's preordained. And everything is predetermined. They don't have a primary. It's a theatrical performance where it's essentially scripted. They just made up rules. He won his primary, by the way, He won his primary, okay? Just like they, with Bernie Sanders, cheated Bernie Sanders, this man won his primary. The Democrats don't have any rules or regulations that say that he can be replaced. After being number one, he didn't really even have any competition, okay? Which is part of, this is all by design, really, okay? And so they had their debate earlier than ever to get this going so they can replace him before the convention in August. The convention is August 19th. They have time. He can simply bow out, and he will eventually, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, this week, next week. Okay, he can't simply say, "Oh, you know what? Hey, man, everything was a charade, man." He has to continue saying, "Well, hey, I can do the job. I've done it for 4 years." What is he supposed to do? Say that he wasn't fit for 4 years? Of course not. There's another debate in September that you'll see Hillary Clinton there. And I'm the only person on the planet telling you this.
Overwhelming support. I won, I forget how many votes I won in the primary. Overwhelming. And so tomorrow, if all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says, we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
It's not the democratic process. The democratic process is if you win your primary, you then become the nominee. But DNC lawyers in smoke-filled back rooms are stated that they could pick their nominees in back rooms, like during the days of Tammany Hall.
Even if that means they vote for someone else?
Sure.
The 30 seconds we have left.
Happen. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? But regardless of what the president says or does, Operation Dump and Destroy Joe Biden is officially underway. And the floodgates, they are now wide open. According to Politico, behind the scenes, well, there's a guy by the name of Barack Hussein Obama. Remember him? He's now given a green light to Pelosi, to Schumer. He signed off on George Clooney's New York Times op-ed and everyone else in the Democratic Party to try and kick Joe to the curb. Fake news CNN now reporting, in fact, and confirming that Obama and Pelosi have had at least one private conversation about getting Joe out of the race. That would explain her comments on MSDNC. So, will Joe Biden make it past the convention? Will he even be president next month, next week, tomorrow? He's certainly.
He will remain president, but resign from 24. Harris will remain vice president, but not be the nominee. I don't understand why people still believe that Democrats adhere to some type of decorum or some type of structure. There is no structure. They just make things up as they go along. They govern through public relations and through media. So if tomorrow they say, oh, by the way, we want the president, who's the most popular candidate of all time, to drop out, then he does. And he doesn't do it right away. They build up the momentum. Obviously, there are people within his administration that want him to remain. Obviously, he likely wants to remain if he even understands fully what's happening. But that's not how the game is played. They catapulted him to the Oval Office. He never even made it past Iowa in the Democratic primary in his entire life in politics. So they took a man who was not very popular within the Democratic Party, but had national recognition because he was vice president. And then Harris didn't even make the DNC primary. She didn't even have enough popularity to make the actual primary, Iowa, the first contest, which, by the way, is no longer the first contest because they're tired of cheating Bernie Sanders, who routinely wins Iowa and then suddenly finds out he doesn't. He didn't win Iowa. So anyway.
Certainly seems to think so. Now, of course, the sad truth is Biden really has not been the president. He has suffered from a steep cognitive decline, getting progressively worse. It is degenerative. It never.
And by the way, I want to be, gracious enough to say, God bless Biden. He's been an absolutely terrible president in terms of foreign policy, domestic policy, the economy, interest rates, inflation, quagmires throughout the world. This has been a failure of a presidency in every way, shape, and form. Democrats say it's so positive because they passed legislation they think is good, but it hasn't really benefited the country at all. But God bless him. He's a human being. He's an American president. And look what Democrats have done. They took a man who was not ready to endure the daily grind of being a president. They forced this man essentially. I mean, I wouldn't say forced, but I mean, he obviously wanted the job, I guess. But they took a man who did not have the physical ability to endure all of this, and they catapulted him into the Oval Office. And then they're saying now that he doesn't have what it takes after he has already won his primary. Okay, the man won his primary, by the way. Not that I already know they don't have a primary. I'm just saying, okay, they don't even have a primary. We know this when they cheated Bernie Sanders. They're the ones who pontificate about democracy. I'm just saying, what they're doing to this man is sinister. But when you make a deal with the devil, okay, you're going to get that Corvette, but you're not going to be able to drive it for long.
Gets better since at least 2019, and for more than 3.5 years, going on 4 years, the state-run media mob, the Democratic Party, have been lying to all of you. It's a collusion and a conspiracy of historic proportions. In fact, I would say that the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is right. This is the biggest cover-up in American history, especially as it relates to the presidency. Maybe Woodrow Wilson's right up there. In the meantime, the U.S. government was run by a cabal of far-left, unelected bureaucrats, cabinet officials, without any substantial direction from the so-called president. According to a new bombshell story, Biden has not conducted a single cabinet meeting all year. Not one.
Bush. Okay, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump. These are presidents, okay, that, like every president before, these are presidents that have a vision. You might not like their vision, you might not like the direction of the country, but they're leading the country. The current occupant is not leading the country, okay? And media, they've lied every single day.
Last time I checked, it's July. Prior high-level meetings were reportedly scripted, questions, concerns submitted in advance. This apparently, giving the questions to interviewers ahead of time been a regular practice for years. One source telling fake news CNN, the entire display is kind of an act. As you can see, Joe Biden is little more than a front man pretending to be your president while following the orders during these rare, heavily scripted public appearances as Biden's closest advisors, his family, all obviously attempted to hide this cognitive decline, but they all knew. And every Democrat knew. And everyone in the media knew. This is an unprecedented scandal. We need to get to the bottom of it. It's an egregious affront. You talk about a threat to democracy. This is a threat to democracy, all from the party that claims to care so much about the people and the democratic process. In reality, the only thing that's bothering them is they're about to lose power.
It wasn't really a cover-up. They did it in plain sight. So media is very good at making the American electorate, at least half of the American electorate that votes Democrat, they're being told every day when they go to bed at night from Kimmel and from Colbert, when they wake up in the morning, reading the Washington Post and New York Times, they're watching The View in the afternoon, and then social media algorithms, every single publication, New York Post, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, The Atlantic, New Yorker, New York Magazine, Daily Beast, BuzzFeed. Well, they used to have BuzzFeed, but all of the publications out there, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, Esquire, they're told every single day that Trump has the cognitive problems. It's not Biden. And then they believe it. Then, when George Clooney or when President Obama, or when media or CNN turns on Biden, then they all turn at the same time. They're like, a great many people within the Democratic Party electorate are like artificial intelligence robots. You just program software, and they'll just believe, and the software is public relations and groupthink. Now they see that Biden respectfully is, the lights are on, but nobody's home. Now they see he's one fry short of a Happy Meal. Okay? Before, he was a Shakespearean actor who was far more eloquent than Trump. Now he must be replaced. Don't you know Trump? So they'll believe anything. Trump is also a Kremlin operative. There was a DNC primary, was fair and neutral. They'll believe literally anything as long as a lot of smart people tell them. And again, it's not like Democratic voters don't understand what's really going on. They're very smart. They just deliberately suspend logic because their belief is that Trump is so venomous and Trump is so evil that they'll just trick themselves or deceive themselves into believing anything as long as they can try to defeat Trump, which, by the way, they're completely ruining and dismantling their political party in real time. But let's continue.
They just want power in perpetuity. So now that a Biden loss looks inevitable, they're once again attempting to disenfranchise Americans by pushing Biden to the curb after all these people in all these states went out and voted for him, and he secured more than enough primary votes to win his party's nomination. The Democratic establishment, the media mob, state-run media, were hoping tonight's press conference would totally, completely humiliate Joe Biden and force him to step down, or at the very least give high-ranking Democrats the political ammunition they need to publicly call for Joe's resignation. Clay Travis put it pretty well. Make no mistake, what is happening, Democrats are chumming the waters with blood and sending Joe Biden in for a swim. They want the media to end him. Well, I don't think Joe Biden got the... Starting out with, frankly, a series of blatant lies. Take a look.
So I took executive action last month. As a consequence, working with Mexico, border encounters have gone down over 50%.
So on that topic, he's been not only an abysmal failure, it's been a deliberate policy from Democrats deliberately not to enforce any laws. Okay, nobody really knows why they don't want to enforce laws in the southern geographic region of our country.
The current level as inflation is down. Overall prices fell last month. Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years.
Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years, with interest rates higher than they've been in decades. Why do you think interest rates are so high, and still food and rent and energy are far higher than the 3.5% or 3.4, 3.3% of core inflation? So again, it's Democrats love aggregate numbers, and then when you explain the context of the aggregate number, their argument falls apart.
Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and airfares. Grocery prices have fallen since the start of the year.
Inflation's been up every month this year, month over month, over 3%, and it went up this month by 3%, not down. Inflation up by more than 20+.
By the way, we're going to have a stock market and crypto crash very soon. Unfortunately, I'll be right about that. I don't want to be right about that, but unfortunately.
Percent under Biden. He inherited 1.4% on the border. Nearly 100,000 illegal immigrants were processed and released this month alone. That is far drama is created because of his cognitive decline that everybody's.
And then they call it the big boy presser. It's like this would, by the way, never happen. This state of affairs, because what Democrats and what media have done they have really tarnished the presidency. It's not Trump. See, they could have simply dealt with Trump by reporting his tenure in office and leaving it at that. Every day, though, was an attempt to degrade the presidency, to disparage, demean Trump, to completely remove any allure or prestige because Trump had tarnished the office. Now we've been relegated to big boy pressers. Yes, he did very well. He, did very well, everybody. It's like this would never have happened in U.S. history prior.
He's known about and covered up. But apparently his staff pre-selected all the reporters. What a shock. Take a look.
With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
And despite a carefully crafted list of friendly reporters, Biden still struggled at times. Maybe not as bad as usual.
And every reporter with Trump was like this activist, fighting for this just cause. Why do you lie, Trump? And with Biden, they're like, Mr. President, I hope that you're understanding of my question, and you've done a very good job. I'm just saying, a lot of Democrats, maybe they don't want you there. And it's like, he was like, yeah, man, cornflakes. I mean, with Trump, it was just performance art all the time. I just want to let you know, Mr. President Trump, you lied to the American people. And with Biden, it's like, I just, please, are you okay? Everything's good? It's okay, bye.
Maybe this was for him actually better than normal. Take a look.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Look, folks, this is, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time. Find me an economist, a mainstream economist who said we haven't done well. What have we not done that isn't working right now? I was told not to go over to Europe, to Asia, including Europe, but Asia. And I remember going to South Korea. Instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about. And if you looked at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, my schedule has been full bore. I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end.
They had things all the time. I love them, but they had things.
I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I'm sorry, Zeke Miller, Associated Press. And so our military is where I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military. We bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia.
Panic has said. Joe, what if the phone rings at 3 a.m.? For Joe, this was definitely better than maybe the average day. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for the kind words. Oten, thank you. The 3 a.m. ad was actually a Hillary Clinton ad. I don't think you want to call any of these people, Biden, Clinton, or anyone at 3 a.m. On the Democratic Party side. But anyway, the point is, Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee, or the person facing Trump will be Clinton. It's in Chicago, late August. She's from Chicago. This entire 7-8 years has been about muddying the waters, making everything morally relative to ensure that Clinton gets back to the Oval Office. 4 years ago, who knows what happened? Maybe it was too close. Maybe the Clintons just couldn't, wrestle control of the DNC like they had in 2016. But this is pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious what's taking place. Everyone around Biden, by the way, is a Clinton alum. The reason that they had the debate earlier than ever is to ensure that there's a different nominee. Who do you think it was telling him, hey, you know what? It's a really good idea. I mean, do you think that if Biden was truly running things, do you think he could have said, hey, I'm not ready for this? Why didn't he simply say, I'm not ready for a 2-hour debate? Why didn't he just do that? If he doesn't have the wisdom to understand that he was being sent to the wolves, what makes anyone think that he has any power to control the fate of his own presidency? He could have simply said, nah, I'm not going to do that. Hey, man, cornflakes, man. I'm not ready, man. But he didn't. He was sent into that debate. He must have known that he probably wasn't ready, but he did it anyway. And you would think that if he wanted to keep the presidency or keep his foothold on the presidency, that he would have said, nah, I'm not ready. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. They're not going to go with Newsom, Whitmer. They're not going to go with the former First Lady. You just use process of elimination. I am literally the only person on planet Earth saying this, and I've been saying it for a long time.
Okay, we'll give him a prop. But the ups, the downs, the peaks, the valleys are shaking this nation and have been for years to its core. It is shaking the world to its core. Starts out high energy. By the end, he's clearly fading. Get him off the stage.
I'm so glad that everybody knows my Mitch McDonald. Mitch McConnell. Not Mitch McDonald, Mitch McConnell.
Hurry up. You can't handle this. Then the whispering. Then the yelling. This has been the last 4 years, and Democrats and the media mob, state-run media, they just lied and covered up for him. That is what everybody needs to take away from all of this. For example, earlier today, he whispered his way through a meeting with Britain's new prime minister, looked completely out of that. He then, by the way, struggled with a standard office chair at a NATO meeting. Later, perhaps even worst of all, he introduced the Ukrainian prime minister, Zelensky, accidentally calling him, whoopsie-daisy, President Putin. Take a look.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin.
If Trump had done this, Democrats would now be crafting legislation to put Trump in a spacecraft and launch him into outer space. AOC would be like, he has to go to outer space. And they would try to actually expel him from the planet, Trump. If Trump had done this, it would have been 24/7 good. Oh my God, Trump. Trump! Oh my, you see? He's an operative of the Kremlin. His boss. Don't you see? It's Trump's boss. He always was working for them.
We've got to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Thank you so much.
That's what it is. Now, the odds of Biden making it to the convention, I don't know. I have no idea. I do know Operation Destroy and Take Out Joe Biden is underway. That there's no doubt about. But, you know, look, he luckily maybe had a little better day than usual.
This was he wasn't going to step down before that speech, the NATO speech. Okay. So It's going to happen. He steps down from 24. He remains president. Harris remains vice president. He steps down, resigns from the 24 nomination. And then it's very simple. Look, I love Trump. I love record low poverty, record highs in household median income. These are all facts. We had a fantastic economy with Trump. He stood up to media, intel officials. He brought Americans home from never-ending military conflict. That's what drives me. I wrote about this in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Jerusalem Post, Roanoke Times. You could look at all my articles on hagoodman.com. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to The Huffington Post. I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to The Washington Post. It's embarrassing for them and for me that I was actually on that political side. It's embarrassing for everyone involved. Okay? I wish that I had written about Trump, but I know I was a lifelong Democrat up until 6 years ago. I know the mentality. And it's about Clinton becoming nominee because they actually have a 5 to 10% chance of actually keeping the Oval Office. 90% Trump wins. But if they can get the Rust Belt and a couple of states that they need there, then you have Madam President. But it'll be Trump. I'm just saying Clinton raises the most money. Newsom, Whitmer, nobody else raises as much money. I have no clue why. I understand. I lost 50, 60 subs because I kept saying that. People were like, I don't want to hear it. Unsub. I'm unsubbing. You're bringing up her name, the person who shall remain nameless. She who shall remain nameless. She who shall remain nameless, you're bringing her up. Unsub. I'm unsubbing. Here we go again. You're bringing up her name. I don't want to hear it. Whatever happens, happens. Just don't bring it up. And then I've had people say, you're trying to will it to happen. It don't matter what anyone does. You know what? When Clinton lost in 2016, it has been every second of the day a quest to regain the Oval Office or a chance for the Oval Office. Okay, Lord knows what happened 4 years ago. Anyway, I can't explain that, but it'll be Hillary, Trump, 24, and the debate September will be amazing. Everyone will say she won. Oh my God, she won the debate. We can go on forever. Anyway, let's continue. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Time for the hot topic of the hour. President Biden turning his described big boy speech at the NATO summit into a campaign rally last night, remaining defiant that he will not drop out of the 2024 race, but waffling on whether there's a better choice for a Democrat nominee. Watch.
I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I
Luis Hernandez, thank you. Brandonomics, exactly. High interest rates, high inflation. Oh my God. Luis Hernandez, thank you, sir. Anthony D'Amato, thank you. Thank you to my super chat. Thank you so much, everybody. And be here. Luis and Anthony and everyone here, be here for the celebration on November 5th. Every day is a countdown to a celebration. God bless America. Because this is the phrase only in America could this happen. This man won his primary, okay? He might be one fry short of a Happy Meal, but he won his primary, but still doesn't matter. They just make things up. They don't care. Luis and Anthony, thank you so very, very much.
I allay fears. If all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says, we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen. I think.
Not only is it going to happen, it already did. Who do you think's more powerful, Hillary or you? It's not the latter. They put you on a debate stage so they could then replace you with Hillary.
I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump, too.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that.
Actually, everyone is saying that. There's actually nobody who's not saying that. Everyone is actually saying that. Every single person on the planet. King Louis. What movie? What movie? King Louis. Kamashwari Kate, thank you. Yes, Madam Fancy Pants is back. It's happening. It's happening. Thank you, Kamashwari Kate. Thank you.
No poll says that.
Every single poll, every single one says that. Every single one, especially swing states.
Things are not looking good for the Biden campaign. NBC is reporting that some of Biden's closest allies see his chances of winning re-election as zero. While the New York Times reports some political insiders are weighing how to get Biden to step aside, which includes pitting Kamala Harris's chances against former President Trump. Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama both reportedly expressing concern over Biden's re-election bid in private, unsure of where to proceed after all of the public appearances. And Biden.
I say this with all due respect. Remember those old wind-up toys that, you know, they'd be like, they could wind up a little like dinosaur and like, that reminds me of our current occupant in the Oval Office. And all they have to do is wind him to the direction of, and now you're going to say, for the good of the country and for democracy, you're going to have a fair and neutral democratic process after you've won the primary to then relinquish your victory and allow somebody for democracy to usurp you and become the new nominee, so then you could just walk and we wind you up and walk into the sunset before the entire Democratic Party is dismantled before our very eyes. And you get investigated for the laptop, which, by the way, you're going to have 50 intel officials that actually say, it's actually real. They're actually going to tell the truth. It's so bad that the 50 intel officials are going to come back, tell the truth now, and investigate Biden if he doesn't step down. I mean, that's how bad it is.
Defiance to stay in. A total of 16 House Democrats and 1 senator all publicly calling for President Biden to withdraw from the presidential race. CBS News says dozens more could join them over the next 48 hours. Lee Carter, it's going to be an interesting 48 hours. That's some people saying we're going to know more information in that time frame, but you've got to believe the Democrats, led by Barack Obama, are in serious panic mode now.
They've got to be, because not only are things not looking good for Joe Biden, they're not looking good for the whole bench. When you look at the polling, when you look at Kamala Harris, you look at Gavin Newsom, you look at Gretchen Whitmer, none of them are doing better than Joe Biden. And so that's problematic, especially because we don't know.
But there was a poll the other day that said Hillary Clinton did better. In fact, by 1 point.
How they'll perform if they were the candidate. Think back to Jeb Bush. He polled extremely well before he ran. Once he was in the role, people were looking at him saying, this is not somebody who's presidential. So it's a big risk at this point to put anybody that has not been a candidate out there. And so it's not quite as easy as just saying, let's get rid of Joe and put somebody else in, because I don't know who could come in and do better.
Well, I mean, that makes sense to me, Lee, because the truth is that these are all the Democrat machine policies. And it doesn't matter if it's going to be Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, or whatever bench they say they have. It's all.
By the way, they say, like, Democrats actually, like, I forgot who the Hollywood actor was who was on The View. He's like, oh, yeah, the bench is strong. They have the worst bench. They have the worst political bench of all time. There is nobody, even with overwhelming media support, that it can actually become president in 4 years. Okay, Hillary Clinton comes with a built-in voting base. She can say the Kremlin stole it from her, and she has a base of support, a much stronger base of support. Actually, Biden doesn't really have a base. He just has Clinton and Obama voters. But I mean, the Democratic Party machine, when they put Clinton in, because it's fair and neutral and it's about democracy, she does have a base of support. She's actually, more eloquent than Biden. Okay, pretty much most people are, but she has that kind of, that energy and she has that will to, battle Trump. That Biden is just like, phoning it home. And so I do believe that Trump is going to win. I give him 90%, but like 10%, Hillary Clinton could win. 10%. That's the only chance they have. Granted, top secret intelligence on servers is a cybersecurity nightmare, highly illegal, infinitely worse than anything Trump ever did or was accused of doing. And it was all against the law. You can't transfer top secret intel onto servers, but apparently nobody cares. Apparently nobody understands the concept, but again, they will go with Clinton. They worked to make Trump a convicted felon, even though that verdict will be overturned by the Supreme Court, and still people will look at both of them and say, no, it's actually the other way around.
All the policies of the Democrat machine. I mean, people are questioning who's been running the country for the last year. I would say it's the Democrat machine. It's going to be the same exact policies that have gotten us here. Do you disagree?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's why you hear people like Joy Reid and others say that Joe Biden could be in a coma and I would still vote for him over Donald Trump, because it's about saying it's going to be the same no matter who's there. And I think that's what even voters believe that.
Yeah, and that's being exposed right now as we see more of President Biden's challenges. I mean, he made some extraordinary gaffes in this press conference last night and yesterday when he was at the NATO meeting talking about the Ukrainian President Zelensky actually calling him President Putin. Watch this.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination.
Could you imagine if Trump had done this? They would be like, this is proof. He was working for him the whole time. It's proof.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so full.
At this point, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only bad for the country, but on a human level. See, Trump supporters don't have this vitriol and rage towards anyone. We don't care, about, judging the morality of Biden. We're looking at this man saying, my God, Democrats, many are, what they've done is sinister. Forcing this man to endure all of this and to display these displays. If it were the other way around, Democrats would be vicious. Media would be venomous towards Trump. It would be, and they wouldn't hold back.
Focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President,
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Sharkasoni, not good.
Well,
not good at all.
There was that. And we've talked about this. This is before the G7. President Biden on the world stage can be problematic. And it was. Look at how the Italian prime minister had to walk him off and steer him away. But I want to pick up on something that you were speaking up earlier. Oh, besides the nine times that he said anyways last night. That's for another time, I guess. But Kimberly Strassel writes in the Wall Street Journal this morning, Maria, that the Biden problem is policy. And she goes on to say Democrats are finally beginning to admit the declining Joe Biden is a problem. If they think he's the only one or the biggest, they're as confused as he is. The sharp move to the left, policies, power grabs, deeply unpopular with the electorate. Mr. Biden is a product of this pendulum shift. So it's a bigger story, to Lee's point, and that the down ballot races are going to be now an issue. And that is why you're now seeing more and more now, I think 17 Democrats at this point have now come out publicly and said.
The only person who raises enough money for these down ballot Democrats is Clinton. Furthermore, they're going to lose. They could lose the House and Senate, but you might have a little bit more energy or renewed energy or enthusiasm. Once media says Clinton, they will be more. There will be more laser focus. They'll be more apoplectic than ever. And I'm telling you, the communist, socialist, everyone on the far left will vote gleefully for Clinton. It won't matter. Trump will win. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. Like I said, they're like AI robots.
And he needs to step aside. That's why Pelosi and Obama and maybe Chuck Schumer, there might be the ones, Maria, to your point, in the next 48 hours that might have to sit Biden down and finally say, we've got an issue. And I'm not sure who else he's going to listen to.
I don't think he's going to listen to any of them. I think they're all panicked. I think they've made those appeals to him already. I don't think there's, they can keep making the appeals, Rebecca, but I think they've pretty much, Obama, Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, I'm sure they've all made the appeals to him.
All they need is 50 more intel officials to actually tell the truth about the bribery and graft in their laptop, in Hunter's laptop, and then it'll be like, oh my God. And then Democrats, you pushed us to this point where we actually had to tell the truth. And these 50 intel, we actually 70 intel officials we found. So Democrats, they craft all their arguments on appeals to authority. Most of the arguments are not, they either redefine words, use euphemisms, which George Orwell called verbal refuse, or they appeal to authority to try to convince you to not trust your lying eyes. But they can ratchet up the heat. Look, they can turn up the heat anytime they want. They had to wait for the big boy press conference yesterday. And then after that, because, they didn't want to, show that, the way they are to the entire country and to the alliance and all that. So, could be Sunday, could be Monday, could be this week. And then it's off to the races, and then it'll be, the first article, I think Hillary Clinton should be the nominee. And then 5 other journalists, Hillary Clinton should be the nominee. Then Clinton is on pace to become the nominee.
In private.
Maria, when I was growing up, there was a childhood show called Romper Room, and you would go into it and the little mirror would spin. And I feel like that's what we've entered into, for people to come out this morning and say, or last night, that he bought himself more time. This is the leader of the free world we are talking about. There is no more time if you're not legally competent. I'm sorry. And that's the way it is. And so I think it's sad for all of these Democrats to care more about getting a Democrat elected than having someone who is actually competent as the president.
By the way, Josh Krashour is on Twitter. And
by the way, I wouldn't vote for Trump if a whole bunch of people around him had my value system or Trump's value system. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want anyone unelected. See, the way Democrats, a great many Democrats, they'll vote for a house cat, a fern, an empty chair. You just put a D next to the name, and they'll be like, oh, no problem. It's, you know what? I love it's the future of the world at stake, But I wouldn't want that. Okay, the cult is not the Trump supporter. The cult is the wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat who will literally vote for anyone. As long as the people around him, in this case, are making the decisions, they're fine with it. I wouldn't do that. I want an actual leader. I want somebody who can lead. JFK during the Cuban Missile Crisis was told to invade Cuba. He refused to do so because he was a sentient being with cognition, and he was able to. He possessed wisdom. Okay, just because you have people running the show around Biden, we've seen that they don't possess wisdom. It would have been nice to have maybe a Democrat in office, if we had to have a Democrat in office, who was in charge, not somebody who was obviously out to lunch with everyone else making the calls, And so we've seen what's taken place. It's been an unmitigated disaster. At least, you know, the JFK example is, even if you like a certain political party, you're not assured that everyone within all the advisors are doing the right thing. You do need a leader to push back, and we don't have that now.
Of course, this is he's on the mainstream media. He tweeted this yesterday. Viewers of Fox News understood the president's condition better than our audiences, which ought to be a huge wake-up call for us. Yes, that's right. Viewers of Fox News and Fox Business knew this years ago because we have been telling the truth.
So they can't continue to tarnish and ruin and disparage and demean their political party. Democrats are relying on a 2-week window that, the American viewer, we really just have 2 weeks, a week and a half, okay? And then we go on to the next thing as a country. So they're saying, look, we're not going to, they have a voting base that will just rally around anyone. It's now about money. I'm the only person on the planet in the known universe telling you what's going to take place. Hillary Clinton is going to be opposite Trump. They're not going to go with Newsom or Whitmer. You could just use process of elimination. They're not going to go with the former first lady because Clinton's 2016 was the third Obama term. So they're not going to market things that way. It will be that there will be calls. She will have calls in the media, New York Times, Washington Post. There have already been articles written, hey, we need Hillary Clinton. The reason that I'm focused on this so intently is because when Bernie Sanders was cheated in a primary that was a complete farce, the concept of meritocracy was erased from the English dictionary. We don't really have that anymore, aside from Trump, who the Republicans didn't want really, and he still won. Okay, but the Republicans didn't have the power, nor it's like that political party actually doesn't work like the Democratic Party. It's actually, there's more meritocracy there. There's more of an emphasis on meritocracy, but it'll be what we've seen the past 4 years or the past 7 years has been an attempt to make everything morally relative just to ensure that Clinton can defeat Trump finally. And you say, well, 4 years ago, yeah, but Biden won because Democrats also shut down economic activity in major states. And they blame Trump for you-know-what. Okay. So they probably, Clinton was not influential enough at that moment to regain the nomination. It was just too close to the defeat. Now, people are saying, oh, she was right about everything. What she was right about, I'm not sure, but she was right about everything. They're going to go with Hillary Clinton. And what can I tell you? Hit subscribe to this channel. God bless you all. To my super chat, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great evening. To my